Digital transformation in HR, balancing act or pipe dream. Digital transformation is the buzzword of the time, and nowhere more so than in HR. Be it the latest AI-driven recruitment tool, or a bold new approach to workforce analytics, the future is arriving fast. Behind the hype, though, too many HR departments cling to practices that are seriously outdated and struggle to keep pace with rapid technological advances demanded by the modern workplace. Reality? Digital transformation is not about shiny new tools being brought in. It's about leading from the front a series of paradoxes, things that, unless dealt with appropriately, might just leave HR behind while the rest of the business races into overdrive. Are HR professionals really ready to balance the contradictions right at the heart of this digital revolution, or does the rhetoric of change exist out loud? We discuss below four critical paradoxes that come into play in the digital transformation journey of HR, which every HR leader needs to address head-on if he or she hopes to remain relevant in a world increasingly becoming digital.
1. Global strategy versus regional autonomy. Ours eternal tug of war. Every global company aspires for an orderly, consistent global HR strategy that is predictable, yet remains lean and agile, mitigates all liabilities, and reduces risks. Regional offices resist this homogenization because they have to address different markets and adhere to different labor laws at the local level. What does this really mean? The tightrope between priorities has often caught HR in the middle. Is it to maintain global standards or to allow for local variations? The dilemma is as old as the hills. My client, an international IT services organization, offers a lesson in balancing this paradox since they operate in over 44 countries. Here, the global human resources policies give broad strategic objectives, while regional human resource teams take the freedom to design initiatives that show local resonance. For instance, in India, the HR developed specific programs for gender diversity and inclusion, a cultural norm arguably not quite as applicable in its European markets. In digital transformation, HR leaders must lead the realization that a one-size-fits-all approach is no more than a myth. They should, instead, be championing a model of hybrids, global frameworks that set broad strategic direction but leave local teams free to mold these initiatives to suit their context. Advanced analytics can then be used to help HR track the performance of regional adaptations and ensure that local flexibility does not come at the cost of global consistency. It's here that tools like Oracle, Workday, or SuccessFactors, which offer flexible configuration within one framework, are gold.
2. Building future capabilities versus maintaining business performance. The HR tightrope. Thus, HR is compelled to be in this unremitting battle to future-proof the organization by training its staff on emerging technologies, such as AI and automation, wholesale reskilling of departments, and preparing people for jobs not yet imagined. Meanwhile, the business is still driving for HR to keep the boat sailing while meeting the performance targets today. The question is, how can HR balance what feels like an urgent need for innovation against an equally important requirement for operational continuity? IBM, the technology giant, pivoted from hardware into cloud services and AI. Its HR team was tasked with no less than a gigantic reskilling job. This wasn't without its trade-offs, though. In readying for tomorrow, IBM had to make that bitter decision to axe employees and divert resources away from legacy services, that hard but necessary line call. HR leaders must be transparent about the implicit trade-offs of doing both. They will have to negotiate leadership buy-in for investments in learning and development, but also temper expectations of what this will truly mean for current operations. For example, pilot programs that target critical future skills would run in parallel to ongoing operations. Take, for instance, the adoption of learning experience platforms such as Oracle Learning, Workday, or Docebo. This can make employees upskill at their own pace without removing them from their existing responsibilities. The trick is incremental adoption, getting one's toes wet without rocking the boat.
3. Radical change versus taking everyone along. Engaging the reluctant majority. Digital transformation involves radically rethinking how organizations work. However, while senior leaders may swoon over the shiny new prospect of a digital future, the grassroots reality is often very different. Employees, especially long-serving ones, may resist such change out of fear of job displacement or an inability to keep pace with relentless innovation. Utilizing the HR Digital Transformation Center of Excellence, my client, a big conglomerate in Egypt and the Middle East, was able to achieve a sea of cultural change toward a growth mindset. There, the role of HR in embedding learning and adaptability into the DNA of the organization was instrumental, but surely it did not occur overnight. HR created programs through which those long-tenured employees inherently skeptical were slowly introduced to the benefits of the digital tools in practical, functional uses for their job. That means there is going to have to be a sensitive balance of forcing through radical innovation and taking employees on the journey, without resistance. Resistance can't be avoided, but it can certainly be lessened through clear and incessant communication and incremental change. Engagement surveys, focus groups, and reverse mentoring programs in which younger tech-savvy employees mentor senior staff can help bridge the gap. Regularly celebrating small wins helps build momentum, showing employees that digital tools will enhance, not threaten their roles.
4. Clear communication versus continuous learning. The perpetual goalpost shift. HR leaders need to clearly communicate the vision of the digital transformation strategy of the company. Still, in a contextual setting where technology is constantly changing, the end goal tends to shift. How can you clearly articulate when strategy will probably alter in a few months? This is the paradox that faced my conglomerate client as they moved toward a digital-first approach to retail operations. Though employees wanted a clear roadmap, the HR team knew full well the digital landscape was moving too fast to articulate a specific endpoint. Instead, HR communicated short-term milestones, letting the long-term vision be fluid and changeable. In so doing, it helped make sure the employees felt informed and reassured, even as the company's broader digital strategy continued to evolve. Transparency is the key. This department should clearly display before others that digital transformation accompanies a degree of uncertainty. Instead of promising a defined destination, it may be safer to commit to short-term goals and milestone attainment that employees can get excited about. Emphasize continuous learning within your culture, one in which adaptability is worn as a badge of strength, not an overwhelming burden. Sites like LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, and edX make ongoing learning possible for employees so they'll be ready for the next bend in the road without having to see what's up ahead.
Can HR truly master digital transformation's paradoxes? For all the digital transformation rhetoric from most HR departments, how many of them are really ready to deal with the paradoxes accompanying the process? How easy is it, really, to balance global and local imperatives, preparing for the future while delivering results in the present, or promoting radical change without losing the workforce? They are not. Yet, they are what is needed if HR is to remain relevant in a digital environment that changes with each new day. The real challenge for HR professionals, however, does not lie in keeping up with the newest technology but in mastering attendant paradoxes. Only those who can manage such contradictions with both realism and agility emerge as the true winners of the digital age. As for the rest, well, the future is less forgiving.